For almost 2 decades, Eric Spofford has built a reputation that he is powerful, well-connected, and not to be fucked with.
I'm about as well-known as a drug addict. What a weird claim to fame. I'm a very well-known drug addict in this state. I know the governor, personally.
When Eric first came on the scene in New Hampshire in 2008, politicians here were like, thank God. No exaggeration. New Hampshire was desperate for addiction treatment. And here was a guy who found sobriety and wanted to use what he learned to help others. Eric became close with then U.S. Senator Kelly Ayotte, who is now New Hampshire's governor. She invited him to testify in Washington, D.C., forever cementing him around here as a guy worth listening to. Our last governor, Chris Sununu, he once said that when he had questions about the opioid crisis, Eric was the first guy he called. People loved Eric. As one source put it, he was like the god of recovery around here. And yet, for all those years, there were whispers around the recovery community in New England that there was a darker side to Eric, that he was an abusive boss, that he cared more about money than real recovery, and that he sexually harassed and assaulted multiple women, and sometimes paid people for their silence. But all that was kept hidden because people were terrified of Eric. He seemed too powerful, too wealthy, and too important in the recovery community to tangle with. Many of his alleged victims were women in recovery themselves. If they came forward, who would be believed? A woman in early sobriety? Or the god of recovery? When my story came out in 2022, it was truly the first time, after all these years, that Eric had to answer for any of this. But even as the allegations continued to pile up against him, he seemed to many people to be untouchable.
There's some things about war that there are to know. One, pray for peace, prepare for war. Make sure you have a good skill set ready, that your sword is sharper than the other guy. And the ultimate thing that wins wars is make sure you're willing to take it further than your opponent.
Eric sold Granite Recovery Centers for what he says was $115 million. He hired high-powered lawyers to send threatening letters to me and my sources, and then eventually sued us. He bought a private jet, his own yacht, a $21 million house in Miami. He started buying up and running other addiction treatment businesses across the country and posting all over the internet about it. Not only did Eric Spofford seem on top of the world, he offered classes where you could pay to learn how to be just like him.
Does it not make you angry that there are people like me that didn't go to Harvard, didn't go to college, we didn't even graduate high school, yet we walk around with watches like this one right here. This watch is probably worth as much as 10 years of your dedicated time in your dead-end, paycheck to paycheck, 9-to-5 bullshit-ass job. How the fuck?
And now, there he was, in federal court, in big trouble, looking really tired, not very confident. Eric pleaded not guilty to all 4 charges. Each one could carry a sentence of up to 5 years in prison. He barely chatted with his lawyer, and he listened as the judge laid out the conditions for his release. He has to pay $1 million bond, which he did immediately after the hearing. He's not allowed to leave New Hampshire for the foreseeable future, except to come to court or see his lawyer in Boston. He has a curfew of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. No Miami, no yacht, no private jet. He had to turn in his passport, and his location will be monitored by federal agents. He can't have any firearms or weapons. He'll be subject to drug testing. He can't call or go near me, my colleagues, my family, or anyone else involved in this case, Eric LaBarge included. And it is a crime, the judge reminds him, to intimidate, retaliate against, or bribe any witness in this case. These aren't requests or suggestions, the judge says. This is a court order. Eric will do serious prison time if he breaks any of these rules. Do you understand? The judge asks. Yes, Your Honor, Eric says, in a quiet, raspy voice. Eric is, of course, considered innocent until proven guilty. And there are a lot of ways this case could go. He could strike some deal with prosecutors,